It is exactly 6:14 a.m. local time on January 4th, 2026. On the frozen outskirts of the Kalinivka-Novoselivska axis, a spot barely visible on the maps of the Eastern Front, the world is gray and silent. In a muddy depression near the ruins of a destroyed farm, a Ukrainian T-64BV tank sits completely motionless. To the naked eye, it looks dead. It is partially buried under dirt and fallen timber. Frost seals the reactive armor blocks. The barrel droops under its own weight. There is no heat signature from the engine exhaust. From the sky, it has already been marked as a free kill. But the tank isn't dead. It's waiting. High above, a Russian Orlan-10 reconnaissance drone circles in the freezing air. Its camera zooms in. The operator, sitting miles away in a warm van, confirms the visual. Target static, no movement, no thermal bloom. To the Russian command, the conclusion is simple. The vehicle has been isolated after a night battle. It is abandoned, or the crew is dead. It is a sitting duck. They are wrong. The tank isn't dead, it is waiting. Inside the cramped, freezing interior of the T-64, the three-man Ukrainian crew is sitting in absolute silence. They are not looking out the viewports. They are staring at a thermal display powered by a backup battery. They have been watching the Russians for 40 minutes. They aren't trapped. They are the bait. This engagement unfolded over nearly an hour, though we are compressing the timeline here to show you the brutality of the trap. At 6:23 a.m., Russian command authorizes the final closing of the ring. The order isn't to destroy the vehicle immediately. Capturing an intact, modernized T-64BV has significant intelligence value. The Russians are confident. They begin to move with textbook precision. From the south, mechanized units supported by BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles advance, using the rolling terrain for cover. From the northeast, a heavy T-72B3 tank takes a position on elevated ground, its 125mm cannon leveling to cut off any escape. Anti-tank teams armed with Cornet and RPG-7V launchers fan out, looking for a clear line of sight. Soldiers move into positions less than 650 yards away. The noose is closing. They believe they are hunting a wounded animal. They do not realize they are walking into a kill zone designed by geometry and patience. Kalinivka North wasn't chosen by accident. The ground here is a deceptive mix of soft mud hidden under a thin layer of frost. It is a nightmare for heavy vehicles trying to maneuver quickly. The Ukrainians know this. The Russians are about to find out. 6:30 a.m. The Russian assault teams are now less than 440 yards away. The ring is essentially closed. From the Russian perspective, the situation is stable. And then, the silence is murdered. Inside the T-64BV, the driver hits the starter. The 5 TDF diesel engine roars to life, hitting full power in seconds. A plume of black smoke shatters the camouflage. The noise creates instant panic. The Russian drone operator shouts a warning, but it is too late. The T-64's turret swings around. It isn't aiming randomly. It has been pre-sighted for the last hour. It zeroes in on a Russian infantry position that had been considered safe. Boom! The first high-explosive fragmentation round leaves the barrel. The explosion rips through the Russian line, throwing the anti-tank teams into chaos before they can even shoulder their RPGs. Seconds later, the tank surges forward. But it doesn't run away. It charges deeper into the ring. A second shot screams out. It slams into a BMP-2 trying to reposition. The vehicle shudders, smokes, and slides sideways into a ditch, blocking the only paved path for the Russian advance. The sitting duck has just become a wolf. 6:36 a.m. The Russian perimeter has collapsed into total disarray. Communications are overloaded. Forward units are frantically radioing for orders, but the T-64BV was just the anvil. Now comes the hammer. This wasn't a desperate last stand. It was a synchronized ambush. Hidden in the tree lines hundreds of meters away, a small Ukrainian anti-tank unit has been watching through the optics of a Stugna P missile system. They were waiting for the Russians to focus on the tank. Now, the Russian T-72B3 on the ridge, the Overwatch vehicle, is exposed. Launch. The laser-guided missile streaks across the field. It hits the T-72. The explosion disables the Russian heavy armor instantly. Inside the lead Russian T-72, the gunner frantically slews the turret, trying to find a target. He hits the throttle to reverse, but the vehicle doesn't move. He realizes the ground isn't responding. The mud has him. And then, the radio goes silent. Simultaneously, the sky buzzes with a new sound. FPV kamikaze drones dive out of the clouds. They aren't trying to blow up the tanks, they are aiming for the optics and sensors. In seconds, the remaining Russian armor is blinded. They are trapped in the mud, their sensors smashed, their command frequencies jammed. In less than 5 minutes, the Russian ambush has completely flipped. They are now the ones trapped in a crossfire, with no clear intel and their exit routes blocked by their own burning vehicles. Let's look at the mechanics of the kill shot that turned the tide. The T-64 crew didn't just fire wildly. They waited for the lead Russian T-72 to rotate its turret to track them. This exposed the turret ring, the vulnerable seam between the hull and the gun. The Ukrainian gunner fired an APF-SDS round. This is a dart of tungsten moving at 1,700 meters per second. When it hit the turret ring, it didn't explode. It liquefied the metal on impact. The kinetic energy sheared the hydraulic lines and killed the autoloader mechanism. In simple terms, the tank was alive, but its brain was gone. 0647 a.m. The Russian response is slow, clumsy, and brutal. Local command has lost its grip on the situation. Coordination between the T-72s and infantry has fallen apart. Once it is confirmed this is a coordinated attack, Russia triggers its indirect fire protocol. From positions miles to the east, two S-19 Msta-S artillery and BM-21 Grad launchers begin pounding the tree line. The goal isn't to hit a specific target, it is fire saturation. They are pounding the entire grid square, hoping to hit something by luck. The chaos is absolute. Russian units begin firing without confirmed grids. Artillery batteries overlap. Some shells fall dangerously close to their own friendly positions, forcing Russian infantry to dive for cover from their own guns. Russian Ka-52 Alligator helicopters armed with Vickers missiles are scrambled from the rear. But they hover low, operating with extreme caution. They know that where there is a trap, there are man-pads. But the Russian artillery is hitting empty ground. The Ukrainian T-64BV isn't static anymore. It is moving, using the natural dips in the terrain, which the crew mapped out hours ago, to slip under the radar horizon. The Russians are burning millions of dollars in ammunition to kill dirt. By the time the fire dies down, the damage is done. The engagement zone near the Novoselivsky sector is a graveyard of Russian ambition. The dirt roads are blocked by wrecked BMPs. The logistics route is severed. According to internal reports and satellite imagery, the Russian armored unit has been shattered. At least 2 tanks are out of commission. But the most dangerous consequence for Russia isn't material, it is doctrinal. This engagement confirms a terrifying trend for Moscow. The Russian movement patterns are predictable. They use known routes. They follow rigid schedules. Ukraine is exploiting this. They are not seeking to hold every inch of ground. They are seeking intelligent attrition. They lure the enemy in, force them to commit resources, and then bleed them dry in sectors that should be safe. In 2022, this would have been a minor skirmish. In 2026, it is a symptom of a losing war. The Ukrainian T-64BV didn't just win a tank duel, it proved that information is more powerful than armor. The crew at Kalinivka North didn't win by fighting harder, they won by fighting smarter. By understanding something Russia has repeatedly failed to grasp in this war. Modern battlefields punish predictability more than weakness. Instead of clinging to ground or burning manpower in a frontal defense, they turned space itself into a weapon. Timing, deception, and selective engagement did what sheer force could not. The result wasn't just a tactical success, it was a strategic complication that now ripples across the entire front. Russia is no longer fighting an enemy it can clearly locate. It is fighting uncertainty. Every secondary axis now demands attention. Every quiet village, every abandoned tree line, every frozen field that once felt irrelevant has become a potential kill zone. What used to be safe rear areas now require patrols, drones, electronic warfare coverage, and rapid reaction forces. None of that comes cheap. This is the dilemma: to defend everything, everywhere, all the time. And that kind of defense is unsustainable. Resources get diluted. Command decisions slow down. Units are forced to spread thin, reacting instead of planning. The front stops being a line and turns into a minefield of possibilities, each one demanding fuel, ammunition, manpower, and constant vigilance. Most importantly, the initiative has slipped away. In an attritional war, tanks can be replaced, trenches can be rebuilt, and positions can be retaken. But initiative, once lost, drains strength every single day it isn't recovered. It forces one side to move on the enemy's schedule, respond to the enemy's choices, and absorb costs without shaping outcomes. And that is why this moment matters. Because losing a tank hurts once. Losing the initiative hurts everywhere, all the time. Because in 2026, the most dangerous weapon on the battlefield isn't a tank. It's the soldier who knows where you're going before you do. What do you think? Does this kind of tactical ambush signal a shift in the war's momentum, or is it just a delay of the inevitable? And if you were a Russian tanker ordered to advance into a quiet sector tomorrow, would you trust your command? Tell me in the comments below. I read every one. Bye for now.